Apple fans, Apple sheep, and anyone else out there watching, Richard here with another episode of iTalk. And in this one, we recap the March event in 10 minutes or less, and the clock starts right now. We're back, and let's start with Apple TV. The March event kicked off with Tim Cook revealing some new Apple TV Plus exclusive shows and movies. But for me, the biggest announcement was for sports fans. Apple TV Plus is going to feature Friday Night Baseball. 2 games every Friday exclusive to Apple TV Plus. iPhone 13 is getting a couple of new colors, one for the 13 and one for the Pro. For the 13, Tim revealed the brilliantly creatively named a bold new green, whatever that means. I mean, seriously, what about evergreen or mountain green or any green except bold new green, which is basically saying the 13 now comes in green. For the Pro model, it appears at least a little more thought was put into it with alpine green, which is pretty cool. Both look great, but they don't really look all that different, at least not on a computer screen. So onto the iPhone SE. The SE is getting some pretty significant internal upgrades, but not much in the way of form factor. It's still the iPhone 8 on the outside with a 4.7-inch display. But the inside is really a quite different story. The SE is now equipped with the A15 Bionic with a 6-core CPU, 4-core GPU, and 16-core neural engine, the same chip in the iPhone 13 and 13 Pro. 5G and improved battery life round out the improvements to the SE. Contrary to expectations and rumors of a price drop for the SE, it actually went up by $30 from $399 to $429. Is it worth the $30 more? I think it is. I mean, with a more powerful processor, 5G, improved battery life. So yeah, probably worth the modest increase in price. I mean, it's still a great phone for the price, and it's actually less than the original iPhone, which started at $499. iPad Air. iPad Air is getting a massive upgrade over the A14. M1 is coming to the iPad Air, baby, and with M1 Pro, M1 Max, and now M1 Ultra, the M1 seems like a dinosaur already, but this is still an awesome chip, especially for a tablet. The front camera is now 12 megapixel ultra wide, supporting center stage, which is hugely popular. Finally, 5G is coming to the iPad Air, and unlike the iPhone SE, the iPad Air does not get a price increase. Still starting at $599 for the 64 gig Wi-Fi model without cellular. So really, for nearly twice the cost, the Pro gives you a larger screen, a Thunderbolt 4 port instead of USB-C, and wide and ultra-wide cameras and larger storage options, including Air starting at 64 gigs and Pro starting at 128 gigs. Is that worth $500 more? I don't know. The iPad Air seems to be a really good option at a really good value compared to the iPad Pro. Guys, what do you think? Let me know in the comments below. So, okay, on to the main event. M1 Ultra, Mac Studio, and Studio Display. M1 Ultra, as Apple announced, this is the last in the M1 series. So let's talk specs. M1 Ultra has a mind-bending 20-core CPU with 16 P cores and 4 E cores, 48 or 64-core GPU options, 64 or 128 gigs of unified memory, and get this, guys, 800 gigabit per second memory bandwidth. This is possible because of the way the 2 M1 Max chips are connected. Other multi-chip sets are created by simply connecting 2 separate chips onto the motherboard. This leads to significant latency, impeded bandwidth, and really bad thermals and power consumption. M1 Ultra is made with a die-to-die interconnect technology, what Apple is calling Ultra Fusion, which allows M1 to retain super low latency, high bandwidth, great thermals, and incredible performance per watt. Apple claims that due to Ultra Fusion, software sees M1 Ultra as a single chip rather than 2 fused chips, with retaining the benefits of the unified memory. Apple claims M1 Ultra is almost 4 times faster than the most powerful Core i9 iMac and 80% faster than, get this, the 28-core Mac Pro. Graphics processing blows away the fastest graphics cards available on the latest Intel iMac and Mac Pro. Mac Studio. This is a complete departure from the larger iMac and the iMac Pro. Mac Studio is a little less than 8 inches square and a little less than 4 inches tall with an advanced thermal system that runs super quiet. If M1 Ultra is anything like M1 and M1 Max, I believe it. Like I said before, with my M1 Max MacBook Pro, I hardly, if ever, hear the fan spinning or feel like it's burning my lap like my old 2017 MacBook Pro, where the fans went ballistic just basically turning the thing on. With the incredible thermals of the M1 family, I wouldn't expect anything less in the M1 Ultra. Okay, let's talk connectivity. This machine is packed to the gills with connectivity. On the back, there's 4 Thunderbolt 4 ports, a 10 gigabit Ethernet port, 2 USB-A ports, an HDMI, and a Pro Studio jack that supports high-impedance headphones and output 4 external speakers. So you can connect 4 monitors, including Pro Display XDRs and a 4K TV. On the front, and this I really think was a brilliant move by Apple, there's 2 USB-C ports on the M1 Max model, plus an SDXC card slot, or if you get the M1 Ultra model, there's 2 Thunderbolt 4 ports and an SDXC card slot on the front. The only thing I'd personally like to see, since I work with multiple cameras, is maybe 1 or 2 more SD card slots. But other than that, Mac Studio has fantastic connectivity. It's also small enough to fit under most displays, and it really does look pretty darn good. Cost, well, clearly more expensive than the iMac or iMac Pro, but still a fraction of the cost of the Mac Pro, which is like 53 grand spec'd out, and that's not even including the monitor. Mac Studio starts at $19.99 for the M1 Max model and $39.99 for the M1 Ultra model. It's configurable to 64 gigabyte GPU, 128 gigabytes of unified memory, and 8 terabytes of storage. Completely spec'd out, you'll shell out $79.99, not including the display, but still a far cry from the Mac Pro that still doesn't come with a display. Studio Display. So, Studio Display is a 27-inch 5K display with 600 nits of brightness. Apple also threw in an A13 Bionic chip to work in conjunction with macOS, and a 12-megapixel ultra-wide camera to support the very popular center stage. It also boasts Apple's famous, or infamous, studio quality 3-mic array and a 6-speaker system that supports spatial audio. As far as connectivity goes, Studio Display has 3 USB-C ports and 1 Thunderbolt 4 port. Honestly, at this price and for what Apple is touting as a display for pros, they really could have, or even should have, included at least 2 Thunderbolt 4 ports, if not all 4 being Thunderbolt 4. Like Mac Studio, this is fairly pricey too, but again, not nearly as expensive as the ridiculously priced Pro Display XDR at 5K for the standard screen, 6K for the nano-textured screen, and oh, let's not forget that's not including the $1,000 stand. Studio Display starts at $15.99 for the standard screen and $18.99 for the upgraded nano-textured option, including the 30-degree tilt stand. If you want the tilt and height adjustable stand, add $400. So again, not cheap, but certainly much more affordable than the $6,000 or $7,000 you drop for the Pro Display XDR if you include the stand. So we're at the end of M1. It also looks like the iMac Pro and larger 27 iMac are no more. At least for now, when John said,
making our transition nearly complete with just one more product to go, Mac Pro. But that is for another day.
Well, that about sums this one up. Mac Studio and Mac Display look great and are a fraction of the cost of Mac Pro and Pro Display XDR, while still offering a pro machine for the vast majority of creators. Until 2 years ago, it seemed that Apple had all but forgotten about the Mac. Little did we know that was the furthest from the truth. For several years before the announcement of M1, Apple was quietly, secretly working on Apple Silicon to completely reimagine, revamp, and make Mac next level and beyond. And what a mind-bending success this journey has been so far, and this is just the very first series of Apple Silicon, the very tip of the iceberg. Here we are getting ready for M2 and beyond, and the future for Mac looks bright. Very bright. Apple Silicon has taken the computer industry by storm and is revolutionizing how, where, and what we do with all of our computing gadgets. Innovation at Apple dead? I hardly think so. With the AR/VR headset in development and Apple Car rolling right along, who knows what else they're working on behind the scenes. Well, that's it for this one. If you like this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, comment, and smash the bell so you don't miss an iTalk video. It really helps out the channel. I'm Richard. This is iTalk. Thanks so much for watching. Until the next one, we'll catch you on the flip side. We are out.